Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and I'm bringing you another questionnaire. And unlike most times where I go back months and months and months just to spice up these questionnaires as I always do them at random points, I decided to do this one from the top to the bottom because a lot of you were actually asking me to do one from the top since I haven't done one from the top in a long time. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So the first question comes in by David. Why is Goku so OP, with OP meaning overpowered? Well, honestly, I guess the best definition would be that number one, Goku's the protagonist, and Toriyama can write him to be however strong he wants him to be completely honest with you. But if you want to go from a literal standpoint, if I had to pick the reason, I think that Goku took key points of the series to train with really strong trainers. And Goku also has had a lot of Zenkai boosts throughout the series, especially on Namek, that really helped propel him to what he was. And by learning Super Saiyan before all of his other peers did in the regular time sequence, Goku was basically able to set himself above the rest of the gang from a very early standpoint. And I think that's the main reason why Goku is so OP in the most logical version. David. Alright, how is Trunks in age 850? I'm not sure what you mean by this, 850. I think that he's talking about from Xenoverse. I mean, if you think about it, Trunks can go to the future or the past, so that's basically my only answer. I don't know exactly what 850 is off the top of my head. I mean, from the alternate timeline theory that I did, the most it went up to was like the 780s or 790s, so I mean, 850, I don't know how to explain that. That's probably around the time of Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr., if I remember correctly, but this is just off the top of my head. Is it true that King Cole warned Frieza about not confronting Lord Beerus and Majin Buu? If so, what do you think happened? Just explore the situation. I mean, from what I was reading in the manga, I remember reading that it said that there are certain people that, you know, Frieza said his dad told him never to mess with, and they were Majin Buu and Lord Beerus. And I think that the reason is because obviously Lord Beerus and Majin Buu are way above Frieza. Now, from what we're getting from Fukatsu no F, in those 4 months, Frieza's able to fight on par with Goku and Vegeta, which means that he's gone through so many realms of power and just skipped them over 4 months, which I still find hard to believe. I really want to get a good explanation once the movie comes out. Because you guys got to think about it like this. For Frieza to go from being weaker than a base Super Saiyan 1 to being stronger than arguably a Super Saiyan God, it's implied that it's stronger than Super Saiyan God from what I've been hearing from the plot spoilers, and that's why Goku's using this new form. If to go from all of those scales being stronger than guys like the androids, Cell, Majin Buu, all forms of Majin Buu, and getting all the way up to that, that's so many levels that Frieza is basically just skipping, that I have to say that it's kind of fishy that Frieza wouldn't have been able to have fought at least on a closer par with Beerus back then, because I mean, if he could get that strong in 4 months, you could think he could do it back then. But at the same time, Beerus did say in Battle of Gods that, you know, he was so surprised that Frieza was actually defeated by a Saiyan. So who knows, maybe Beerus had some idea of Frieza's potential too, but honestly, I just think it's because of the power scaling that those two characters have. Good question. When will we have the true Super Namek story? Honestly, I can't tell you. I don't know. This is something that you would have to ask like the writers. I just do videos on Dragon Ball Z itself, not, you know, I don't have the answers to things that have never been shown, you know, like why didn't Goku teach somebody instant transmission? And there's no answer to it. He just didn't. So unfortunately, I don't know, but I would love to see the Super Namek story, and I'd love to see a background story. I think that Toriyama and his crew can really work on giving us the I guess you could say like the parts of Dragon Ball Z that have never really been explored, like the real story of the Saiyans, so we can get what really happened to them. We can see what it was like being on Namek like back in the day, and, you know, create villains. Or maybe we could talk about Frieza's family. You know, there's so many things that I think Toriyama can do with Dragon Ball that hasn't even been discovered. He doesn't need to expand the story. He can just go back because there's so much history in Dragon Ball that I think that Dragon Ball Z is literally like a limitless show. Alright, what could be expected if a sequel to Fukatsu no F was made to explore the history of other people than just a story about the Saiyans? Well, I kind of just answered this in a weird way. I mean, if there was a sequel to Fukatsu no F that was exploring other people than just the Saiyans, that would be really fun. I would love to watch it personally because, I mean, Fukatsu no F is something that I feel is closing the gap with the whole Frieza arc, and I think that by adding all of those other story arcs, I think it makes a really, really exciting and fresh story. So I do think it's possible, but I think it would probably be like a short series, maybe 5 or 6 episodes or something. I don't think it would be like a full, 50 to 100, even 200 episode type of thing. So that's just my honest opinion. Alright, let's see. What if Piccolo was trained by the old Supreme Kai just as Gohan was? Well, obviously, I mean, I think Piccolo could get stronger, but I mean, honestly, and I'm not being biased, I'm actually going against my bias. I don't think Piccolo would have been as strong. I mean, honestly, I do think Piccolo has potential. I think everybody does to some degree. But I mean, in terms of comparing him with Gohan, a kid who was basically able to injure Raditz when he didn't even know how to fight, that amount of hidden power I don't think could ever be replicated in anyone else. Maybe Goten and Trunks have, comparable hidden power. I've actually been on the mindset that Goten might actually possibly have more hidden power than Gohan. Blackenfist and I disagree. But, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I think it's pretty, pretty legitimate that Piccolo could have gotten considerably stronger. Has Piccolo reached his ultimate potential, or are there greater levels to be achieved? I don't think so, because Piccolo can always fuse with other Nameks. There is the whole deal of being peaked out. It's usually with even athletes and humans. Like, there comes a certain point in your life where you just don't get stronger due to age. And honestly, if you look at Piccolo from the series, in comparison to Saiyans, and it's kind of hard to do that because he's a Namek, but if you look at Piccolo, Piccolo is the type of character who, by aging, he's not even that much older than Gohan. Like, literally, Piccolo is like 4 years older than Gohan is. I'm thinking 5, I'm sorry. I think it's 4 or 5 years older than Gohan, if I remember correctly. So, he's barely older than Gohan, and I was looking at the manga to validate it from both the anime and the manga. Piccolo was basically born, and he grew in a very, very short period of time after King Piccolo had spit him out. So, I mean, because of that, you gotta say to yourself that, if Gohan can still get stronger at his age, maybe Piccolo can too, but at the same time, I don't think Piccolo can ever get as strong as a Saiyan in comparison, because, if you compare Piccolo and Goku, and if they do the same amount of training or a similar training regimen, Goku will just get more because he's a Saiyan. But I do think Piccolo would be stronger than most, deities, or I shouldn't say deities, but most beings in the universe, and he's probably stronger than 99% of Saiyans out there. I mean, prior to the whole, Super Saiyan movement with Goku and his friends. So, I think Piccolo has greater levels to be achieved based off of Fukatsu no F, but, I mean, just not anywhere near the Saiyans. As with Super Saiyan God, does it seem reasonable for Dragon Ball Z to have a story arc about past Super Namekians being gods themselves? For instance, the fusion of Piccolo and Kami as a pure-hearted Super Namekian, and Lord Slug as an evil Super Namekian. I mean, that's possible. I mean, I can't give you a direct yes, because that's not something I can directly answer. I'm sorry, but I mean, I honestly don't think it's... I think it's possible. They can do whatever they want. Do I think it's most likely going to happen? No, and the reason I say this is because most people are not, I guess you could say, following Nameks the way they do Saiyans. I'm actually an outlier. A lot of people are surprised when I say Piccolo's my favorite character, because 99% of the time when I hear people talk about their favorite characters, it's usually Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, and Future Trunks. Those tend to be like the 4 main favorite characters of Dragon Ball Z that almost everybody likes. Jesse from the Mardiculous Network likes Krillin, and he's an outlier for that. But most people like those 4 the most. And I think that because those Saiyans are so popular and that we've gotten accustomed to having Saiyans being stronger than basically everybody else, and basically the other characters are just reduced to irrelevance, I think that it's very unlikely to show a story specifically about Namekians, but I would love to see it. And if there's a Super Namekian God, that would be awesome. I mean, who's to say that there's not even a superhuman God? I mean, you can go anywhere you want with the story, but I just don't see it being likely, to be completely honest. But a backstory between Piccolo and Kami, I could definitely see that. Alright. wait, how did Frieza get his organic body back when he died in his cyborg form? So shouldn't his cut up parts come back as a cyborg form? Well, David, great question. I've answered this question several times to certain subscribers. The reason is Frieza is a little bit different from other characters, because Frieza was basically reborn back into his cyborg form, and he died in his cyborg form. So when Frieza was basically being wished back, they brought back Frieza from his most recent form, which was his cyborg form. And then Frieza's scientists, obviously with an advancement in technology, they were able to kind of, I guess you could say, dial back Frieza to his base state. Meaning, like, they can basically reconstruct his body based off of his physiology to convert him back to his original organic form. And I know it sounds kind of complicated, but I mean, his cut up body parts did come back as his cyborg form anyways. So so your question is just slightly altered, David, because he did, if you read the manga chapter, he did come back in his cyborg form, and they just took his organic material to put him back in his original form. That's the simplest I can explain it. Do you think that Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku, oh, I hate that title so much, and or Vegeta will be stronger than Beerus? David again. Wow, David's asking a lot of questions. I think it's possible. I haven't seen the movie, and it hasn't really been revealed that much. I mean, from what I've been reading from the plot spoilers, it doesn't really seem like Beerus gets involved in the fight. He's kind of spectating the whole time, so it is very possible that, you know, Beerus could be stronger than Frieza and the rest of them. But my thing is that, considering the fact that Goku's getting a brand new transformation along with Vegeta, and the fact that Goku in Battle of Gods, you know, was on par with Beerus, who was apparently using 70% of his power, if I remember correctly, that tells me that if Goku gets this new transformation, that might put him over Beerus, considering the fact that, you know, Goku, I mean, it was obviously weaker than Beerus by a good margin, but now, I mean, with this new form, he could probably close the gap. It's kind of like looking at, you know, Goku when he was fighting Frieza and Kaioken, and then when he went Super Saiyan, you know. Goku held his own a little bit against a Frieza who was holding back the most of his power, but once Goku was able to go Super Saiyan, that put him over the edge and put him over Frieza. So I do think it can be looked at in that circumstance. So that's a very good question, and I'm gonna actually have to go with yes. I do think they'll surpass Frieza with this new transformation. I have a question. If the Super Saiyan gene theory is in this, why wasn't Pan and Bulla able to turn to Super Saiyan, since even Pan got beat up bad and Goten turned Super Saiyan by being kicked by Chi-Chi? How did that hurt? Okay, David, let me just point out that when Goten turned Super Saiyan against Chi-Chi when she kicked him, that was filler. That never actually happened in the original manga. As far as Pan and Bulla go, I made a whole video discussing, you know, the whole whether or not they can go Super Saiyan or not. But long story short, I'll just explain to you. I do think that Pan and Bulla do have the ability to go Super Saiyan. I just think that Pan, honestly, is just not that strong as other characters were when they were able to go Super Saiyan. And if you also factor in that Pan probably was never really put in a situation where she needed to go Super Saiyan, I think that plays a role. I don't think gender has anything to do with it, to be completely honest with you. And if you look at Pan, I mean, honestly, look at Pan as compared to the other characters. I know there's an inconsistency with Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr., how they could do it, and they have even more diluted Saiyan blood. But who's to know that, I mean, if you look at the GT Legacy movie, Goku Jr. was in some stressful situations. Pan was in some stressful situations too in GT. But, I mean, honestly, I just think it's writing. And who's to say that Pan can turn Super Saiyan? Maybe she learned how to go Super Saiyan in that 100-year gap, and, you know, she just never showed it. I mean, I do think that she could. Bulla's just not a fighter. So, I do think Pan has the ability to do it. And, for Goten being hurt, that's just filler. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, hey, how do you think that Goku and Vegeta will at some point surpass Whis? And what is your all-around thought on the series as a whole? I think Toriyama would just make movies. What do you think? Okay, very good question. I think that Dragon Ball Z's at a point now where I think they're just creating movies in the meantime to just supplement the fans. Do I think that we can get a new Dragon Ball Z series? I don't think it would be an extendedly long series. extendedly long, meaning I don't think it would be a series as long as, let's say, the entire Dragon Ball series was. You know how like it spanned over 290 episodes, or the original series where it spanned over 150 episodes, or GT where it spanned over 60 episodes. I don't think it's going to be like that kind of thing where we're going to get like a brand new direction and all this stuff. I do think we could see miniseries, you know, stuff that kind of follows the line of like episode of Bardock, in the sense that it's like a short, quick excerpt that we get for Dragon Ball Z, but it doesn't really add that much to the series. But I do think there's a potential for a sequel from what Zom has been telling me. There hasn't been confirmed information, so I'm not going to report on it because I'm not going to report something that obviously might not happen. But he's hinting that there will be a sequel after Fukatsu no F. And if that happens, I mean, you got to say to yourself, Dragon Ball Z is the type of show that has been proven to have a very, very strong fan base. Look at it with my subscriber count. I mean, I was making Yu-Gi-Oh videos for a year and a half, and once I started Dragon Ball Z, my channel grew a lot more in size because the Dragon Ball community is really, really, really strong, even after all these years. And I think that with that, I'm going to have to say that at some point they will surpass Whis because, I mean, to advance the story and to make Vegeta and Goku like the strongest characters in the series, I do think that's something that they might do down the line. And as far as movies, I think we're going to see probably several movies and maybe a miniseries. That's my honest prediction. Because, I mean, if they look at all the money they've been making from Dragon Ball, I can't see how they wouldn't, you know, go through with it. What if Goku was able to master the Kaioken technique to make it more efficient than a Super Saiyan? I always liked the Kaioken more than the Super Saiyan, so what if Goku was able to do a Kaioken times 1 million? This should be even more powerful than a Super Saiyan God. What is your opinion, Qaaman? Okay. When it comes to Kaioken and Super Saiyan God, I've always said to myself, there's two different types of energy. Like, that's why when Goku was able to go into his Super Saiyan God form, they couldn't feel his energy because he has a new type of ki. He's a god. He has a god-like aura, so like the regular ki that you're used to sensing from guys powering up no longer applies to a god. So now you're like on a new complete hierarchy of power. Now when it pertains to going Kaioken times 1 million, I don't think you needed to go with that many zeros. Kaioken times 1 million is ridiculous. I think if Kaioken times 1 million did exist, I do think that would probably be stronger than anything in the history of Dragon Ball Z, because if you're multiplying your power 1,000,000 times, I mean, you gotta look at what, you know, a character that has just a power level of 1,000 would have. I mean, look at my calculator. Like, if you have 1,000, right, and you multiply this by 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that's basically what a person's power level would be just if they were 1,000. So a person would have a power level of 1 billion just if they had a power level of 1,000. So you gotta just think about this for a second, what Kaioken times 1 million would do. I mean, that's insane. But I mean, in terms of the whole Kaioken technique, I don't think it's an efficient technique to begin with. And I did a whole video with Dino on this, you know, saying can Kaioken be as strong as a Super Saiyan? You might want to look that up. We go more in depth, but honestly, like, the Kaioken is meant to be an inefficient technique. It just gives you a burst of strength and speed to just hit your opponent off guard and to have like a quick burst of power. It's not the type of thing that you can sustain, and it's very, very, very stressful on the body. It's implied to be even more stressful than Super Saiyan, considering the fact that a Kaioken, you know, I mean, even with all of Goku's training in Zenkai Boost, he was only really able to go up to a certain level of the Kaioken, 20. You know, and like with all of that said, I mean, it just won't give him the amount of power that a Super Saiyan transformation could do, especially because of the stress. So I just think it's an inefficient technique to begin with. Is it impossible to put people into capsules? Because I was thinking with my mate and we weren't sure, because we know you can put water into a capsule, but we didn't know if it would be possible for a human to be contained in a capsule. Love your videos, by the way, Scotty Madden. Cool. Okay, well, I mean, technically, yes. Because if you think about it, when Bulma had that house that was a capsule and she was inside of the house, then technically she's inside of a capsule, right? Because the house is a capsule and she's inside the house, which is the capsule itself. So if you're following me, I do think it is theoretically possible. I do think advancements could be made for that to happen. Do I think it's, I mean, I mean, they kind of had this theory in Legacy of Goku 2, which I'm very close to getting back to, guys. I'm just trying to finish up Xenoverse first. With Legacy of Goku, there was a point in the series where this guy had like an animal put inside of it. And I know it's just a game, but like I do think it's possible because we are living organic beings, you know, similar to Pokemon. I mean, you know, Pokemon could be in Pokeballs, so I mean, could you put a human in a Pokeball? Possibly. You know, we don't know. Obviously, people haven't tried it, but I do think it's possible. I mean, science is unlimited. Let's say there are 20 Super Saiyan forms, and right Super Saiyan makes the Saiyans aggressive and not pure-hearted. If Goku went Super Saiyan 10 to 20, would he be evil in a way? I'm a little confused, but I can understand the last part. I mean, I don't want to say evil, because I do think a Super Saiyan has a part to do with how you are as a character. And Super Saiyan 10 through 20, that's going a little far-fetched, but I do think that Goku could theoretically become more aggressive. Aggressive meaning he's more aggressive and itching to hurt people in a fight. Kind of what we see when he goes Super Saiyan 2, 3, and 4. Like once and even Super Saiyan to a degree, he becomes a lot more aggressive towards the opponents that he fights, but he still has a pure heart. You know, and I think that because of that, I do think that Goku could be more aggressive, but evil is going very, very far. And considering the fact that Super Saiyan God has to be compared amongst the Super Saiyan forms, you gotta say to yourself that if that's pure, a pure-hearted Super Saiyan, it makes it even more unlikely that, you know, it would be an evil transformation as a whole. What if Tien was not killed by the androids in the future and him and Chaozu trained up until History of Trunks? Do you think they could beat the androids? Do you think they might go back with Trunks? Well, if Tien was not killed by the androids in the future and him and Chaozu trained, I don't think they would be able to beat the androids, considering the fact that Future Gohan, and I did this in my very first Dragon Ball Z segment, Future Gohan trained for 13 years and he also trained with Trunks, especially in the manga. Trunks was already a Super Saiyan before Gohan had died. It's a very important fact, guys. Future Trunks, or he's referred to as early Teen Trunks instead of late Teen Trunks. Early Teen Trunks was able to go Super Saiyan, and he was training with Gohan when Future Gohan was using his base form. So, I mean, if those characters can fight for 13 years and not even be strong enough to fight the androids, and the androids were holding back against Future Gohan, they didn't even use half their power, it's implied that only 17 fought and 18 was just spectating, and 17 and 18 are basically almost the same in power. That would tell me that Tien and Chaozu would never even be stronger than the androids in their lifetime. That's just my honest opinion. I mean, that gap is just too high, in my honest opinion. Do you know the song Rap God of Eminem? Maybe he was an original Super Saiyan God, then rapped about it, and he even made a rap battle versus Whis, who's a terrible singer, and Beerus loved it. Maybe Eminem can teach Whis how to rap instead of singing horribly. Slim Shady gave Beerus some donuts. And is Eminem a Super Saiyan? You know, when he transforms into Super Slim Shady, he's blonde and he's back with a Zenkai boost for his lyrics. When he reverts to his base form, he's not in his Slim Shady form. Do you think he can reach the level of Super Slim Shady 3 with his rap powers, his inner spot? Okay, Rap God of Eminem, I'm not sure. I do listen to some Eminem songs, but he's not my favorite rapper, personally. I like rap music, I like rock music, I like all types of music. I love oldies the most. I don't really see how Eminem can relate this all to Super Saiyan God, so I'm kind of confused here. And I don't think he can reach Super Slim Shady 3, but there is one really awesome AMV that I saw with an Eminem song, and it was called Go to Sleep Bitch, and it was with Goku fighting against Kid Buu, and Vegeta was also fighting against Kid Buu too in that video. That was one of the best AMVs that I ever saw. It's probably really old, it's probably like 6 or 7 years, but that's the only Eminem Dragon Ball Z thing I can probably tell you. And no, Eminem is not a Super Saiyan. Alrighty guys, so I am back. So the question was, in your GT review, you said that Piccolo should have helped Goku in the fight with Baby, but with his eggs, didn't he reach him? Was he infected too or hiding like Oob? I think he was hiding. It's heavily implied that he was hiding. I mean, Piccolo got wiped out by Baby Gohan's Kamehameha when it made like that X platform thingy. And I mean, from what I remember, I mean, I don't think Piccolo was infected, considering most of the Earth was infected by that point. And if you look at Piccolo, I mean, I doubt he would have been able to have been infected. And one of the reasons why I say this is because Piccolo was kind of isolated from the rest of the other world. So because of that, I would say that he was not infected, and I just think he was probably knocked out for a long time after that Kamehameha, and he just didn't do anything. That's just my honest opinion. General Wildo versus Vegeta. Well, I'm gonna have to go with Vegeta. It's pretty... maybe if Vegeta can't take him in Super Saiyan 1, he goes 2, but Vegeta would definitely win as a whole. But I would have to go with Vegeta. Ultimate Gohan versus GT Base Form Goku. I'm gonna have to go with GT Base Form Goku, as weird as it might sound. I mean, I'm sorry, you gotta look at how much time has passed, guys, and I know you guys think I'm crazy for saying this, but you gotta think that you gotta say to yourself, this is 10 years after Z, and I don't, and you know, I know as Toriyama has said before that, you know, he wanted to base this point of time for Fukatsu no F in the gap between the end of Dragon Ball Z, because he felt the characters were in their primes. But I mean, if you look at this, I mean, it was stated, and I don't remember exactly where it was stated, but it was stated somewhere, I've heard this 10 million times, that it said that Goku's base form was as strong as a Super Saiyan 3 Goku from GT. So if you gotta think, if he was stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku, or equal to, I mean, maybe he might be a little bit weaker than Ultimate Gohan, because Ultimate Gohan's way stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku. But I mean, I just think that I would probably take my bets with Goku because of how much time has passed, and we never really got an exact gauge of how strong Goku was, so I'm gonna have to go with Goku. But then again, there will be some people who will say that a base form can never get that strong, and I completely understand that. So let's just take a quick timer here. Super Saiyan 2 Baby Gohan versus GT Base Goku. Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Goku. I mean, Super Saiyan 2 Baby Gohan was weaker than probably what he was in Z. Super Saiyan 2 Baby Gohan versus Ultimate Gohan. I'm gonna have to go with Ultimate Gohan. Ultimate Gohan was basically Gohan with his full potential, and it's implied that Gohan was slacking for even more time than the 7-year gap. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Gohan. Mr. Popo versus King Piccolo. I'm gonna have to go with Mr. Popo because of what the Daishenzu said with the power levels. They had Mr. Popo ahead of all of the other Dragon Ball characters, and I mean, Mr. Popo was a 1030, which is stronger than Raditz, so I'm gonna have to go with Mr. Popo. Bardock versus Nappa. Well, I'm gonna have to go with Bardock. I remember reading it said that it's implied that Bardock has a power level of over 10,000. Even if you don't want to go with power levels, guys, Bardock did survive a direct hit from Dodoria, who was implied to basically stay around the same in power level throughout the years. So if he can survive a blast from Dodoria, who was way strong, who was like in the 20,000s, or maybe he wasn't as strong, you know, back then as he was by Namek. Maybe he got a little bit stronger, but I mean, to survive a blast from Dodoria like that, and after getting those Zenkai boosts, I would have to say that Bardock would be way stronger than Nappa. Garlic Jr. versus Raditz. I'm gonna have to go with, honestly, I'm gonna just go with Garlic Jr. I mean, considering the point of the series that, you know, Garlic Jr. was in. I mean, Garlic Jr. was basically at the point of Dragon Ball Z where he basically was fighting with characters who were from the post-Namek arc. And because of that, I'm gonna have to go with Garlic Jr. would win it easily. Maybe Garlic Jr. earlier in the series, like from Dead Zone, I would give Raditz the edge on that Garlic Jr., but I mean, from the Garlic Jr. that was from the filler episodes that took place between the Trunks story arc and the Frieza Namek arc, I'm gonna definitely have to say that Garlic Jr. I mean, considering the fact that, I mean, he and his henchmen were fighting all of the even stronger Z fighters at that point, and it's heavily implied that Garlic Jr. would probably mop the floor with Raditz, and that basically does it here, guys. I made this video basically 30 on the spot. Once I deleted that last question, it refreshed to all these new ones here. I'll just answer one more question just for fun. Have I ever been peed on? No, I've never been peed on in my life, not that I know of. If I was peed on by something. I was probably peed on by myself as a baby, but you'd have to ask my parents. They were the ones who cleaned my diapers when I was a kid, and my grandma too. Actually, both of my grandmas. So yeah, my grandmas and my parents, my siblings, they know if I've ever been peed on. And that basically does it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this questionnaire. I'm sorry for being a little bit late to these, but I've been working really hard on some segments that I'm planning to release, a lot of them throughout the summer. So I hope you guys enjoyed. So most importantly, over everything else, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.